Captain Zathera floated in front of the main control panel of her ship, watching the warning lights blink red all around her. The lights made her thin, glass-like skin glow with an eerie color. Her 4 delicate arms moved quickly across the controls, but nothing she did seemed to help. The ship was dying, and so were her people. The Harmony's light had been her pride for 15 years. The research vessel was built like a work of art, with smooth curves and crystal panels that let starlight shine through. It was perfect for peaceful exploration among the stars. But now those same crystal panels were cracked and broken. Air was leaking out into space through dozens of small holes. Behind her, Dr. Kylthan coughed violently.
Ow.
The sound made Zathera's heart race with fear. Kylthan was their best scientist, an expert on rare minerals. He had been so excited about this mission to study the strange rock formations in the Kepler system. Now he was lying on the floor, his breathing shallow and painful. "Captain," whispered Simra from her position at the life support station. Her voice was weak and getting weaker. "The air purifiers are completely broken. The backup systems failed. 20 minutes ago. We have maybe 2 hours before the toxic gases kill us all." Zathera closed her large silver eyes for a moment. The Valari people had evolved on a world of perfect balance. Their home planet had clean air, gentle weather, and no dangerous animals. Violence was unknown to them. They had never needed to learn how to survive in harsh conditions. They were explorers and scientists, not fighters or survivors. "Have you been able to contact anyone?" Zathera asked, though she already knew the answer. "The main communication system was damaged in the explosion," Simra replied. "But I managed to fix the old emergency transmitter. It only works on the ancient Alliance frequencies, though. The signal is weak, but it should reach any Alliance ships and nearby systems." The Galactic Peaceful Alliance was made up of dozens of gentle species, like the Valari. There were the Thornery, who looked like walking trees and could live for thousands of years. They were wise and patient. There were also the Etherians, floating beings of pure energy who could solve almost any technical problem. And there were others, all peaceful, all civilized, all completely unprepared for the kind of emergency that had struck the Harmony's light. "Send the message," Zathera ordered. "Tell them we need immediate evacuation. Tell them we are dying." Samara's fingers moved across her controls. Message went out into space, carrying their location and their desperate plea for help. It would take hours for any Alliance ship to reach them, even if one was close by. Zathera looked around at her crew of 12 scientists and researchers. They were all brilliant minds, experts in their fields. But none of them knew how to fix a life support system that had been sabotaged. Yes, sabotaged. Zathera was sure of it now. The explosion that had crippled their ship had been too precise, too well-timed. Someone had wanted to destroy them. But why? The Valari had no enemies. They had never fought a war or taken anything that belonged to others. They were just scientists trying to learn about the universe. She floated over to where Dr. Kylthan lay on the soft floor padding. His breathing was getting worse. The toxic gases were affecting the smaller crew members first. Soon, even the stronger ones would start to suffer. "Captain," he whispered, grabbing her arm with surprising strength. "The mineral samples in my lab, they must not fall into the wrong hands." "What do you mean?" Zathera asked, leaning closer. "Trilithium crystal formations. It's very rare, very valuable. If someone knew we had found them..." He coughed again, harder this time. "Maybe that is why we were attacked." Zathera felt her blood run cold. Trilithium crystals were used to power the fastest ships in the galaxy. A large deposit would be worth more money than most worlds made in a year. If pirates or criminals had learned about their discovery, that would explain the attack. She looked out through the broken crystal panels at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, help was hopefully coming. She imagined a Thornery medical ship, arriving to carefully tend to her injured crew, or perhaps an Etherian vessel with their advanced healing technologies. The Alliance species were good at fixing things, at healing, at solving problems with patience and wisdom, but they were also slow. They liked to think about problems for a long time before acting. They held meetings and discussed options and tried to find perfect solutions. That was fine for most situations, but not when people were dying minute by minute. Far away, in a completely different part of space, Captain Jake Morrison was having a boring day. His cargo ship, the Iron Wolf, was hauling mining equipment to the outer colonies. It was not exciting work, but it paid well enough to keep his crew happy. And his ship running, Jake was a big man with gray hair and scars on his hands from his years as a soldier. He had fought in the Titan Wars when he was younger, back when humans were still fighting each other instead of exploring the stars together. Now he was just a cargo hauler, but he still kept his ship and crew ready for anything. Captain called. Lisa Martinez from her station at the communications console. I'm picking up a distress signal. It's faint, but it's definitely there. Jake walked over to look at her screen. Lisa was young and smart with dark hair and quick fingers that could make any communication system work better than it was designed to. She had grown up on Mars and knew 6 different languages, including Galactic Standard. What kind of signal? Jake asked. It's in Galactic Standard, Lisa replied, adjusting her controls to make the signal clearer. Sounds like aliens. They're saying something about life support failure and requesting immediate evacuation. Jake frowned. Rescue ship. It was a cargo hauler with a crew of 8 humans. They had basic medical supplies and emergency equipment, but nothing fancy. They were not equipped to handle alien medical emergencies, but Jake had been a soldier once. He knew what it sounded like when people were dying and needed help right away. Can you clean up that signal? He asked. Lisa worked at her controls for several minutes. Slowly, the alien voice became clearer. Act! It was speaking in accented but understandable Galactic Standard. The voice was high and musical, clearly female, and full of desperation. This is Captain Zathera of the Valari research vessel. Harmony's Light. We are located at coordinates 7-7-Mark-4-1-Delta in the Kepler system. Our life support systems have been destroyed. We have 12 crew members who will die. Within 2 hours, if we do not receive immediate evacuation assistance, please anyone who receives this message, we need help now. Jake looked at the navigation display. The Kepler system was only 6 hours away at maximum speed. Okay, any official? The rescue ship would take much longer to get there from the core worlds. Danny, he called to his tactical officer. Danny Rodriguez was a thin man with nervous eyes who had served with Jake during the war. He was good at making quick decisions under pressure. Yeah, boss. How long would it take us to reach those coordinates? Danny checked his instruments. 6 hours and 20 minutes, if we push the engines hard. Jake thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. These aliens would be dead long before any proper rescue ship could reach them. The Iron Wolf might not be a rescue vessel, but it had air and medical supplies, and a crew that knew how to handle emergencies. Change course, Jake ordered. Maximum speed to those coordinates. But boss, Danny said, we don't know anything. About these aliens, they could be dangerous. Jake looked at him with the same expression he had used during the war when explaining obvious things to new soldiers. They're dying, Danny. That makes them a lot less dangerous than usual. The Iron Wolf came out of faster-than-light travel with a shudder that ran through the entire ship. Jake Morrison gripped the rail near the captain's chair as the stars shifted back into normal patterns around them. 6 hours had passed since they received the distress call, and he hoped they were not too late. There it is, Danny Rodriguez called out from his station. I've got the alien ship on sensors. Jake looked at the main screen and felt his stomach drop. The Harmony's Light. Looked like someone had taken a beautiful glass sculpture and smashed it with a hammer. The ship was elegant in a way that human vessels never were. All smooth curves and crystal panels that caught the light from the nearby star. But now those panels were cracked and broken. Pieces of debris floated around the ship like a cloud of glittering dust. Life signs, Jake asked. Danny's fingers moved quickly across his controls. I'm reading 12 life forms aboard the alien vessel. Their biosignatures are weak but stable. They're still alive, boss. Good. Lisa, try to contact them. Lisa Martinez opened a communication channel. Alien vessel Harmony's Light. This is the human cargo ship Iron Wolf responding to your distress call. Please respond. For a moment there was only static. Hey, Then a voice came through the speakers, high and musical, but filled with exhaustion. "Iron Wolf, this is Captain Zathera. We did not expect." The voice paused, and Jake could hear other aliens talking quietly in the background. The words were in a language the translation computer could not understand, but the tone was clearly nervous. "Captain Zathera," Jake said, stepping closer to the communication station. "We received your emergency signal. What is your current status?" "Our life support systems are completely destroyed," Zathera replied, her voice shaking. "The air is becoming toxic. My crew is dying slowly." "But you are humans, yes? From the planet called Earth?" Jake frowned at the strange question. "Yes, we are humans from Earth. Does that matter right now?" There was another pause, longer this time. Jake could hear more alien voices in the background, and they sounded frightened. Finally, Zathera spoke again. "We were expecting help from our alliance partners, the Thornery or the Etherians or other peaceful species. You are from what the galaxy calls a death world. Your people are known to be ... dangerous." Jake looked at his crew. Danny was staring at the communication station with his mouth open. Lisa looked confused. Carl Thompson, their engineer, had just walked onto the bridge and was listening with interest. Carl was a big man with thick arms and grease under his fingernails, but he was also one of the gentlest people Jake had ever known. Lady Jake said, trying to keep his voice calm. "I don't know what you've heard about humans, but right now we're the only ship in this area. Your people are dying, and we're here to help."
"Oh.
"Do you want our assistance or not?" Another long pause. Then, very quietly, "Yes, please. We need help." Jake turned to his crew. "Danny, give me a full scan of their ship. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with." "Carl, get the emergency docking equipment ready." "Lisa, patch me into their ship's computer systems if you can. I need to know what kind of life support they need." The next hour was controlled chaos. Danny's scans revealed that the alien ship had suffered massive damage to its engine room and life support systems. The attack had been precise and professional. Someone had known exactly where to hit to cripple the ship without destroying it completely. Carl worked on extending the Iron Wolf's docking tube to connect with the alien ship. It was not easy because the two vessels had completely different designs. The Harmony's light had been built for beauty and efficiency, with smooth surfaces and hidden connection points. The Iron Wolf was built like a tool, with obvious hatches and mechanical systems that could be repaired with basic equipment. Lisa managed to connect to the alien computer, but the information she found was disturbing. The Harmony's Light's crew were breathing air that would kill a human in minutes. The aliens needed a very specific mixture of gases, and the toxins leaking from their damaged systems were deadly even to them. "Boss," Carl called from the airlock. "I've got the connection ready, but we're going to need full environmental suits." "The air over there will melt our lungs," Jake nodded. The Iron Wolf carried 8 environmental suits for emergencies. They were bulky things, designed to keep humans alive in the vacuum of space or on hostile planets. They would look frightening to aliens who had never seen anything like them. "Everybody suit up," Jake ordered. "We're going over there." "About Dr. Foster?" Lisa asked. Amanda Foster was the ship's medic. Currently sleeping in her quarters after a long shift treating a crew member's broken arm. "Wake her up and get her suited," Jake said. "Might need medical help." 20 minutes later, 6 humans in bulky environmental suits were preparing to enter the alien ship. Jake led the way, followed by Carl, Danny, Lisa, Dr. Foster, and Tom Brady, their cargo specialist. The remaining 2 crew members stayed behind to monitor the ships and be ready for emergencies. The docking tube connected the 2 ships with a soft thump. Jake opened the first airlock door and stepped into the space between the vessels. The tube was filled with the Iron Wolf's normal air, but he could see the alien ship's airlock on the other side. It was made of some kind of crystal material that let light through. "Here we go," Jake muttered into his suit's communication system. He pressed the control to open the alien airlock. The door dissolved rather than opening normally. Jake stepped through into the alien ship and immediately understood why these people were called fragile. Everything was made of materials that looked beautiful, but seemed like they would break if touched too hard. Our walls curved gracefully, and soft light came from panels in the ceiling. It was like walking inside a piece of art, but the air was full of visible toxic gases, and warning lights were flashing everywhere. "My God," Dr. Foster whispered over the cum. "How are they still alive in this?" They found the alien crew in what appeared to be the ship's main control room. Jake had expected them to be small and weak, but he was not prepared for how alien they actually were. The beings looked like they were made of living glass, with skin that seemed to glow from within. They had 4 arms instead of 2, and their bodies were thin and graceful in a way that made them seem like they might blow away in a strong wind. Captain Zathera was floating near a control panel, her large silver eyes fixed on the approaching humans. When she saw them, she backed away quickly, her 4 arms spread out as if to protect herself. "Do not be afraid," Jake said, his voice coming through the translation system built into his suit. "We are here to help you." But Zathera was clearly terrified. The humans in their bulky suits looked like mechanical monsters. They were twice as tall as the Valari, and probably 10 times as heavy. Their suits hissed and clicked with mechanical sounds, and their faces were hidden behind dark faceplates. "You are much larger than I expected," Zathera said, her musical voice shaking. "The stories say that Deathworlders are violent and unpredictable, that you solve problems with force and anger." Jake stopped moving and held up his hands to show he meant no harm. "I don't know what stories you've heard, but we're not here to hurt anyone.
Hey!
We're here to get you and your crew to safety. But we need to move fast. How much time do we have?" Dr. Foster was already scanning the alien crew with her medical equipment. "Jake," she said over the private comm channel, "their life signs are critical. 2 of them are unconscious, and the others are not far behind. We need to evacuate them now." Jake looked around the alien ship. Moving these fragile beings was going to be like trying to transport soap bubbles in a hurricane. But they had no choice. The alternative was letting them all die. "Captain Zathera," he said, "we need to move your people to our ship immediately. Our life support can keep you alive until we reach a proper medical facility, but you're going to have to trust us." Zathera looked at her dying crew, then back at the intimidating humans in their mechanical suits. She closed her large silver eyes for a moment, then opened them with new determination. "We trust you," she said quietly. "Please save my people." Moving the Valari crew from their dying ship to the Iron Wolf turned out to be the hardest thing Jake Morrison had ever done, and he had fought in 3 major battles during the Titan Wars. The problem was not that the aliens were heavy. The problem was that they were so fragile that touching them wrong could break their bones. Dr. Amanda Foster knelt beside the first unconscious Valari scientist, her medical scanner beeping softly. Through her suit's faceplate, Jake could see the worry in her eyes. "Jake," she said over the comm, "their bone structure is like bird bones, but even more delicate. If we try to carry them normally, we could kill them just by picking them up." Wrong. Carl Thompson was examining the alien ship's damaged systems, his engineer's mind working on the problem. "Boss," he called out, "I think I know what happened here. Someone planted explosives in their engine room, small ones designed to cripple the ship without destroying it completely." This was planned. Jake felt anger building in his chest, but he pushed it down. Right now, the important thing was saving lives. He could worry about catching the people responsible later. "Tom," he said to their cargo specialist, "what do we have on board that we can use as stretchers? Something soft that won't hurt them when we move them." Tom Brady scratched his helmet where his head would be. "We've got those foam padding sheets we use to protect delicate mining equipment. They're designed to absorb shock and prevent vibration damage." "Perfect. Get them." While Tom went back to the Iron Wolf to get the padding, Dr. Foster continued. Examining the Valari crew, she worked carefully, using her medical scanner to check each alien without touching them. What she found was both amazing and terrifying. "Their entire biology is different from anything I've ever seen," she reported. "They're not just physically fragile. Their whole body chemistry is designed for a perfect environment. No toxins, no stress, no sudden changes. What they're breathing right now would kill a human in 5 minutes. Right. But it's taking hours to kill them because their bodies are trying so hard to filter out the poison. Jake watched Captain Zathera, who was still conscious but getting weaker by the minute. She was floating near her control station, trying to help coordinate the evacuation, even though she could barely speak. "Captain," Jake said gently, "we need to know about your life support requirements." "What kind of air do your people breathe normally, Zathera?" As large silver eyes focused on him with effort. "We need a nitrogen-oxygen mix, but with trace gases that your ship probably does not have. And the temperature must be exactly right, and the humidity and the pressure." Her voice trailed off as she realized how complicated it sounded. On her world, the environment never changed. The air was always perfect, the temperature always comfortable, the pressure always exactly right. Her people had never needed to adapt to different conditions because there were no different conditions. "We'll figure it out," Jake promised. Dr. Foster is very good at keeping people alive. Tom returned with armloads of soft foam padding. The material was designed to protect sensitive mining equipment during transport, but it would work just as well for protecting fragile aliens. The humans began carefully wrapping each unconscious Valari in the soft foam, creating protective cocoons that would keep them safe during the move. Lisa Martinez was working at the alien ship's computer station, her fingers flying over the strange controls. "I'm downloading their medical database," she reported. "If we know exactly what they need to survive, we can try to recreate it on our ship." The evacuation took 2 hours. Each Valari had to be individually wrapped in protective padding carefully, lifted, and slowly carried through the docking tube to the Iron Wolf. The humans moved like they were handling explosive devices, which in a way they were. One wrong step or sudden movement could kill the aliens they were trying to save. Danny Rodriguez stayed on the Iron Wolf's bridge, monitoring the sensors for any sign of trouble. What he found made his blood run cold. "Boss," he called over the... "Come, we've got company." 3 ships just decloaked about 1,000,000 kilometers away. They're moving toward us at high speed. Jake was in the middle of carrying Dr. Kyle Than, the Valari mineral expert, through the docking tube. He could not move faster without risking the alien's life, but he could feel time running out. "What kind of ships?" he asked Raiders Danny. Replied grimly, "This looks like modified cargo vessels with military weapons. They're not broadcasting any identification, and they're coming in hot." Jake reached the Iron Wolf's medical bay and carefully placed Dr. Kylthan on one of the beds that Carl had modified with extra padding. The alien was unconscious but still breathing. 7 Valari were now safely aboard the human ship, with 5 more to go. "How long until they reach us?" Jake asked. 20 minutes? Maybe less. Jake made a decision that would have horrified any proper rescue coordinator, but made perfect sense to a former soldier. "Tom, Carl, forget about being careful. We need to move the remaining aliens now, even if it means taking risks. Better they have a chance of surviving rough handling than certain death from whatever those raiders want." The pace of the evacuation doubled. The humans still tried to be gentle, but they moved with military efficiency that both amazed and terrified the conscious Valar. Captain Zathera watched in fascination as Jake's crew transformed from careful rescuers into a coordinated fighting unit. In the space of seconds, Dr. Foster had converted the Iron Wolf's small medical bay into an alien intensive care unit. Using the information Lisa had downloaded from the Valari computer, she was mixing a breathable atmosphere for the aliens and adjusting the temperature and humidity to match their needs. It was not perfect, but it would keep them alive. "Amanda," Jake said as he carried the last unconscious Valari into the medical bay. "How are they doing?" "Better," she replied, checking her instruments. "Once we got them breathing clean air, their bodies started fighting off the toxins. They're not out of danger yet, but they have a chance." Captain Zathera was the last to be evacuated. She insisted on staying with her ship until all her crew were safe, even though she could barely remain conscious. Jake had to admire her courage. Even if it was the kind of courage that came from never having faced real danger before. "In my ship," she whispered, as Jake carefully lifted her in her protective foam cocoon. "My beautiful ship." "I'm sorry," Jake said honestly. "The Harmony's light was too damaged to save, and they did not have time to tow it. But your crew is safe. That's what matters." As soon as the last Valari was secured in the medical bay, Carl began disconnecting the docking tube. The Iron Wolf pulled away from the dying alien vessel just as the 3 raider ships came into weapon range. Jake made it to the bridge as the first raider ship opened communication channels. The face that appeared on the screen was human, but scarred and cruel, in a way that made Jake think of the worst soldiers he had known during the war. Well, the raider captain said, grinning to show metal teeth. "Looks like we've got ourselves a hero. Human cargo ship Iron Wolf, this is Captain Rex Stone of the free merchant vessel Bloody Fortune. You're going to surrender both ships to us right now, or we're going to blow you apart and take the salvage anyway." Jake looked at his crew. Danny was already routing power to their defensive systems. Lisa was jamming the raiders' targeting computers. Carl was bringing the ships. Few weapons online. They were a cargo crew, not a warship. But they were humans from Earth, and Earth had not become a spacefaring civilization by backing down from bullies. "Danny," Jake said calmly, "target their engines. Carl, load the mining charges. Lisa, broadcast a message on all emergency frequencies that were under attack by pirates." "You don't want to do this, cargo boy?" Captain Stone warned, his grin getting wider. "We've got 3 armed ships, and you've got a rust bucket hauler. This doesn't have to get messy." Jake looked back toward the medical bay, where 12 fragile aliens were fighting for their lives under Dr. Foster's care. He thought about Captain Zathera, who had stayed with her ship until every one of her crew was safe. He thought about the beautiful research vessel that someone had destroyed just for money. "You're right," Jake said to the raider captain. "It doesn't have to get messy. You can turn around and leave right now, and nobody gets hurt." Captain Stone laughed, a harsh sound that made Jake's crew tense up. "I like you, cargo boy. You've got spirit? Too bad you're about to be space dust." The raider ships opened fire. The first energy blast from the raider ships hit the Iron Wolf's shields and made the whole ship shake. Jake Morrison grabbed the rail next to his captain's chair and felt the familiar cold focus that had kept him alive during the Titan Wars. Around him, his crew moved with the quick efficiency of people who had learned to trust each other completely. "Shields down to 80%, Danny Rodriguez reported from his tactical station. His nervous energy had transformed into deadly calm. "They're using standard pirate weapons, designed to disable ships, not destroy them, because they want the cargo intact," Jake said. He understood how pirates thought. They wanted to steal, not fight. That gave the Iron Wolf an advantage, because Jake's crew was not interested in preserving anything except the lives of the people they were protecting. Carl Thompson's voice came over the cum from the engineering section. "Boss, I've got those mining charges loaded into the cargo launcher. They're not real weapons, but they'll make a big hole in whatever they hit." The Iron Wolf had never been designed as a fighting ship. It was a cargo hauler with basic shields and a few defensive systems. But it also carried equipment for deep space mining, and mining equipment could be very dangerous when used creatively.
"Alisa."
Jake called to his communications officer. "Are you still jamming their targeting computers?" "Yes, sir," Lisa Martinez replied, her fingers dancing over her controls. "Their weapon systems are having trouble getting a lock on us, but it won't work forever." Jake studied the tactical display. 3 raider ships were approaching in a standard pirate formation. They would try to surround the Iron Wolf and force it to surrender. The raiders had more ships and better weapons, but they were thinking like criminals, not soldiers. "Danny, target the lead ship's engines. Carl, fire 1 mining charge at their weapon systems. Let's show them what happens when you mess with people. We're protecting." The Iron Wolf's improvised weapons fired almost silently. The mining charge was designed to blast through solid rock, and it tore through the lead raider's hull like paper. Sparks and debris erupted from the raider's ship as its main weapons went offline. Captain Rex Stone's face appeared on the communication screen again, but he was not grinning anymore. Behind him, Jake could see smoke and flashing warning lights. "What the hell kind of weapons are you carrying?" Stone demanded. "It's the kind that make big holes," Jake replied calmly. "Want to see what else we've got?" The second raider ship fired a full spread of energy beams at the Iron Wolf. Danny had been expecting it, and he rolled the ship to present the smallest possible target. Most of the shots missed, but to hit the cargo bay. Minor damage to cargo. Bay 3, Tom Brady reported from damage control. "No injuries, but we've lost some of our mining equipment." Jake nodded. The Iron Wolf could take some damage, but the Valari in the medical bay could not handle much more violent maneuvering. Dr. Foster was trying to keep 12 critically injured aliens alive, and every sharp turn or sudden acceleration made her job harder. In the medical bay, Captain Zathera had regained consciousness. She was lying on one of the modified beds, surrounded by strange human medical equipment that beeped and hummed constantly. Through the transparent walls, she could see the human doctor working frantically to save her crew. Dr. Amanda Foster moved between the Valari patients like a dancer, checking vital signs and adjusting life support systems. She had never treated aliens before, but she was learning fast. The medical database Lisa had downloaded from the Harmony's Light was helping, but mostly she was relying on her instincts and her determination to save lives. "How are they doing?" Zathera asked weakly. Dr. Foster looked up from her work. "Better than I expected. Your people are fighters, even if they don't look it. Dr. Kylethon is responding well to treatment, and the others are stabilizing." Another explosion shook the ship, and several of the Valari cried out in fear. Dr. Foster quickly activated the medical bay's inertial dampeners to reduce the effects of the ship's movement. "What is happening out there?" Zathera asked. "Your friends are getting justice served to them," Dr. Foster said grimly. "Captain Morrison doesn't like people who hurt innocent scientists." On the bridge, Jake was studying the tactical situation. The lead raider ship was limping away with its weapons. Destroyed, but the other two were still dangerous. They had spread out and were trying to flank the Iron Wolf. "Danny, can you target both ships at once?" "Not with our current weapons," Danny replied. "We've only got one cargo launcher, and it takes 30 seconds to reload between shots." Jake thought for a moment. The raiders were expecting him to fight like a cargo captain trying to protect his ship. They were not expecting him to fight like a soldier trying to protect innocent people. "Carl, how much explosive mining equipment do we have left?" "6 more charges, plus about 20 mining drones," Carl replied. "The drones are designed to fly into asteroid fields and plant explosives for controlled demolition." "Perfect."
8.
"All the drones, and program them to home in on the raider ship's engine signatures. Then fire everything we've got." The Iron Wolf's cargo bay opened, and 20 small mining drones shot out into space. Each drone was designed to navigate through dangerous asteroid fields and plant explosives in exactly the right places. Against spaceships, they were like a swarm of guided missiles. The raiders tried to shoot down the drones, but there were too many of them moving too fast. The little machines dodged and weaved through the enemy fire, their simple computer brains. Focused on the single task of reaching their targets, Captain Stone realized what was happening and tried to retreat. But it was too late. The first drone reached his ship and exploded against the engine housing, then another and another. Within seconds, the second raider ship was drifting helplessly with no power. The third raider ship turned and ran at maximum speed, leaving its allies behind. Jake opened a communication channel to the disabled raider ships. "This is Captain Morrison of the Iron Wolf. You attacked a peaceful research vessel and tried to murder 12 innocent scientists. You're now prisoners of war under galactic maritime law. Prepare to be boarded. You can't do this." Captain Stone shouted from his crippled ship, "We're just salvage operators. We have rights." "You gave up your rights when you started killing people for money?" Jake replied coldly. "Danny, fire a warning shot across their bow. If they try anything stupid, blow them up." The Iron Wolf's remaining mining charge streaked across space and exploded a few hundred meters from the lead raider ship. The message was clear. Lisa was recording everything on the ship's official log. I've got complete documentation of their attack on the Valari ship and their attack on us, she reported.
Oh.
This will hold up in any galactic court. Tom and 2 other crew members put on environmental suits and took a shuttle over to the disabled Raider ships. They found evidence of the original attack on the Harmony's light, including detailed plans of the Valari ship systems and information about the valuable trilithium crystals the aliens had discovered. Back in the medical bay, Dr. Foster was finally able to give Captain Zathera some good news. All of your crew are going to survive, she said with a tired smile. It was close for a while, but they're all stable now. Dr. Kyle-Than is even conscious and asking about his mineral samples. Zathera felt tears forming in her large silver eyes. How can we ever thank you? Your people risked their lives to save strangers. You fought to protect us even though you barely knew us. Dr. Foster sat down on the edge of the medical bed, suddenly feeling exhausted. That's just what humans do, she said simply. When someone needs help, we help. When someone hurts innocent people, we stop them. At the stories we heard about Deathworlders, Zathera said. They said you were violent and dangerous. Ain't we? Can be, Dr. Foster admitted, when we need to be. When people we care about are threatened. But being dangerous and being evil are 2 very different things. Jake's voice came over the ship's communication system. All hands, this is the captain. We're setting course for the nearest Alliance medical station. Our passengers will receive proper treatment there, and we'll turn our prisoners over to the authorities. Well done, everyone. Captain Zathera closed her eyes and tried to understand what had happened. Her distress call had been meant for peaceful allies who would arrive with gentle healing and careful diplomatic solutions. Instead, it had been answered by Deathworlders, who brought violence and protection in equal measure. Maybe that was what the galaxy needed more of. 3 days later, the Iron Wolf arrived at Harmony Station, the closest galactic peaceful alliance medical facility. The station looked like a giant flower floating in space, with petals made of living wood and crystal that glowed with soft light. It was beautiful in the same way the Valari ship had been, but Jake Morrison could see the defensive systems hidden in the organic curves. Even peaceful species had learned to protect themselves. Captain Zathera was strong enough to stand now. Though she still needed help walking, she stood next to Jake on the Iron Wolf's bridge, watching as Alliance ships approached to escort them to the docking bays. Her large silver eyes were focused on Jake's face, trying to understand the human who had saved her people. The station commander wants to speak with you personally, Lisa Martinez reported from her communications station. Commander Blue Mov Seasons is requesting permission to come aboard. Jake nodded. Tell them they're welcome, but warn them that we're still carrying prisoners. The Raider crews are locked up in Cargo Bay 2. 20 minutes later, the Alliance commander floated through the Iron Wolf's airlock. Blue Mov Seasons was a thornery, one of the tree-like beings that lived for thousands of years. She was tall and graceful, with bark-like skin and leaves that changed color with her emotions. Right now, those leaves were showing confusion and concern. Captain Morrison, she said in a voice like wind through branches, I must admit I am puzzled by this situation. When we received your message about rescuing Valari scientists, we expected to find an Alliance vessel. Humans are not known for their rescue operations. Jake felt a flash of irritation, but he kept it under control. We were the closest ship when we heard the distress call. We did what anyone would do. Bloom of Seasons' leaves shifted to a deeper shade of green. That is where you are wrong, Captain. Most species would have reported the emergency to the proper authorities and waited for trained rescue personnel. You risked your lives and your ship for strangers. So would you? Jake said simply. Yes, the Thornery agreed, but we would have done it slowly and carefully with proper equipment and medical teams. You did it with mining charges and cargo padding. Her leaves rustled with what might have been amusement. Captain Zathera has given us a complete report of your actions. She says you fought 3 armed raiders with a cargo ship. Captain Zathera stepped forward, moving carefully in the lighter gravity of the human ship. Commander, I need you to understand what these humans did for us. They did not just save our lives. They showed us something about strength that we never understood before. She looked around the Iron Wolf's bridge, taking in the practical metal, walls, and functional equipment. Everything was built to work, not to look beautiful. But there was a different kind of beauty in tools that did their job perfectly when lives depended on them. My people have always believed that strength meant violence, and violence meant evil, Zethra continued. We thought the peaceful path was the only moral path. But these humans showed us that sometimes peace must be protected by those willing to fight for it. Dr. Amanda Foster joined them on the bridge, having just finished transferring the last of the Valari patients to the Alliance medical teams. Her hands were stained with various alien medical fluids, and she looked exhausted but satisfied. How are they doing? Jake asked. They'll all make full recoveries, Dr. Foster replied with a smile. Dr. Kylthan is already asking when he can go back to work. I told him not for at least 2 weeks, but I don't think he's listening. Commander Bluemuff Seasons studied the human doctor with interest. You treated 12 members of a species you had never seen before using improvised equipment while your ship was under attack. How is such a thing possible? Dr. Foster shrugged. You figure out what they need to stay alive, and then you make sure they get it. It's not complicated. But it is, Bluemuff Seasons insisted. What you did required medical knowledge, engineering, skill, tactical thinking, and courage all at the same time. Most species specialize in one area of expertise. Humans don't have that luxury, Jake said. Our world taught us that you need to be good at everything if you want to survive. Danny Rodriguez looked up from his sensor station. Captain Weir, getting a priority message from Earth Fleet Command. Hey, they want to know about the Raider attack. Jake took the communication at his command station. Admiral Sarah Collins appeared on the screen, her stern face showing concern. She was one of the senior commanders of Earth's small but growing space fleet. Captain Morrison, the Admiral said. We've received reports that you engaged multiple hostile vessels while conducting a rescue operation. Please confirm your status. All crews safe and unharmed, Admiral, Jake replied. We rescued 12 Valari scientists from a disabled ship and captured 2 Raider vessels involved in the attack. We're currently at Harmony Station transferring the victims to Alliance medical care. Admiral Collins looked surprised. You engaged in combat with a cargo hauler? We used what we had, ma'am. Mining charges and some creative thinking. The Admiral's stern expression cracked into what might have been a smile. I see. Captain, you should know that this incident is attracting attention at the highest levels of both Earth government and the Galactic Alliance. Apparently, this is the first time humans have been involved in an official first contact and rescue situation. Jake glanced at Captain Zethera, who was listening intently to the conversation. I hope that's good attention, Admiral. It's complicated. Admiral Collins replied, But Captain, I want you to know that you and your crew have made Earth proud. Morrison, out. Commander Bluemuff Seasons had been listening to the conversation with growing amazement. Captain Morrison, did your Admiral just say this was a first contact situation? You mean this was the first time you had ever met Valari? It's the first time we'd met any aliens besides the ones in the trade ports? Jake confirmed. Why, the Thornery's leaves turned bright gold with astonishment. You risked everything to save people you had never seen before, from a culture you knew nothing about, using equipment you had never tested for such purposes. This is remarkable. Captain Zethera moved closer to Jake, her movements more confident. Now that she was feeling better, Commander Bluemuff Seasons, I wish to make a formal request to the Alliance Council. What kind of request? The Thornery asked. I want to recommend that the Alliance open formal diplomatic relations with Earth immediately, Zethera said firmly. These humans have shown qualities that the galaxy needs. They are strong enough to protect the weak, smart enough to solve problems under pressure, and compassionate enough to risk their own lives for strangers. Jake felt uncomfortable with all the praise. We just did what needed to be done. Exactly, Zethera said, turning to face him. That is what makes you remarkable. You do what needs to be done without debate or delay or political considerations. When someone calls for help, you answer. Commander Bluemuff Seasons' leaves rustled thoughtfully. The Alliance has been watching Earth for some time. We knew humans were expanding into space, but we were uncertain about making contact. Your reputation as a violent species made us cautious. Oh, we can be violent, Jake admitted, when we need to be. But you are not violent by choice, the Thornery observed. Violence is a tool you use to protect others, not something you enjoy. Lisa looked up from her communication station. Captain, I'm getting messages from news services all over the galaxy. Word is spreading about what happened here. Apparently, the story of Deathworlders saving Valari scientists is big news. Jake sighed. He had signed up to haul cargo, not to become some kind of galactic celebrity. What are they saying? Mixed reactions, Lisa reported. Some species are impressed. Others are nervous about humans getting involved in galactic affairs. But the Valari government has issued a statement calling us heroes and requesting that their people be allowed to work directly with human crews on future missions. Captain Zathera smiled, an expression that made her glass-like features seem to glow from within. Captain Morrison, I have a question for you. What's that? When you heard our distress call, did you hesitate? Yeah, did you think about the danger? Or the cost? Or whether it was your responsibility to help? Jake thought about it for a moment. No, you needed help, and we were in a position to provide it. That made it our responsibility. And that, Zathera said, is why the galaxy needs more Deathworlders. 6 months later, Jake Morrison received a message that changed everything. The Galactic Peaceful Alliance was offering humanity associate membership with full diplomatic recognition and trade agreements. The recommendation had come directly from the Valari government, supported by detailed testimony from Captain Zathera about human character and capabilities. Jake was sitting in his captain's chair aboard the Iron Wolf, reading the official invitation, when Dr. Foster joined him on the bridge. So, she said, think we're ready to be galactic citizens? Jake looked out at the stars through the bridge windows. Somewhere out there were billions of beings living peaceful lives on gentle worlds, protected by their wisdom and their alliances. But sometimes, wisdom was not enough, and alliances could be slow to act. Sometimes the galaxy needed people who would hear a call for help and respond immediately, without question or hesitation. Yeah, Jake said quietly. I think we're ready.